Have you noticed something about the way we live now? We wake up, and before we even open our eyes, we reach for our phone. We scroll through notifications while brushing our teeth. We listen to a podcast while making breakfast. We put on a YouTube video while eating. We always have something playing in the background while we work. We fall asleep to a show or on Instagram. There is never a moment of silence, never a gap, never just nothing. And for a long time, I thought this was normal, efficient, even why just do one thing when you can do two? It's part of being productive. And why let your mind be quiet when you can fill it with something useful? But lately, I have started wondering, what are we losing in all this filling? I catch myself doing it all the time. If I am waiting in line, my phone comes out. If I am walking somewhere, I put on a podcast. If I am cooking, there is a video playing on the counter. There is always something playing. There's always something in the background, and I'm not watching it half the time. It's just there, like background noise. I used to think this was being more a productive person. I am learning something while doing dishes. I am listening to something useful while I am commuting. But then I realized something. I'm not really present for any of it. I am listening to a podcast, but I'm not really hearing it. I'm cooking, but I'm not really tasting. I'm scrolling, but I'm not really seeing. Like I am just filling every gap, filling every moment of silence because silence has started to feel uncomfortable, like something is wrong with you. But then I asked myself, what am I actually retaining? And what am I missing? When I am always listening, always consuming, always filling the gaps, I'm never just present. I'm never just letting my mind wander. I'm never just noticing the way the light looks in the morning, or the sounds of the street, or the thoughts that float up when I'm not forcing them down. We have become so afraid of silence that we treat it like something to be fixed, a problem to solve, a gap to fill. There is actually a name for what happens when we let our minds wander. Scientists call it the default mode network. It's the part of our brain that lights up when we're not focused on anything in particular. When we're not daydreaming, when we're not reflecting, when we're just letting our thoughts drift. And here's the thing, the default mode network is where activity happens, where we connect things we hadn't connected before, where we solve problems, where we solve puzzles, where we process emotions, where we make sense of our own lives. But it only activates when we're not focusing on something else, when we are bored, when we are still, when we are not just consuming something else. So every time we reach for our phone to fill a gap, we're actually shutting down the significant part of our brain that helps us be creative and process our lives. There is a book I have been reading lately. It's called The Shallows by Nicholas Carr, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And he talks about something that stopped me for a little while. The net is, by design, an interruption system, a machine geared for dividing attention. Frequent interruptions scatter our thoughts, weaken our memory, and make us tense and anxious. Think about that. Our phones aren't just tools we use. They are designed to interrupt us, to pull us away, to keep us from being still. Every notification, every buzz, every little red dot, it's all designed to pull us back in, to keep us from having a moment of quiet. Because a moment of quiet is a moment we're not scrolling, and that's very bad for business. And I'm not saying this to be dramatic. I'm just noticing that we are now swimming in a system that profits from our distraction. And we have absorbed it really deeply that we now do it to ourselves. We reach for our phone even when no one is calling. We put on a podcast even when we don't want to listen. We fill every gap because gaps have started to feel wrong. But what if the gaps are where we find ourselves? Why do we reach for our phone the second there is a pause? Why do we need background noise to fall asleep? Why does sitting in silence feel almost unbearable sometimes? I think because we've trained ourselves to avoid our own thoughts, to avoid the uncomfortable stuff, to avoid the boredom. And there is a thing I've been trying to remember. Boredom is not bad. Boredom is where ideas come from. Think about it. When was the last time you had a genuinely creative thought while also listening to a podcast? When was the last time you solved a problem while scrolling through reels?
Research on boredom says that it is the mother of all creativity. Because in boredom, we turn inwards, don't we? We reflect, we listen to inner voice, we make meaning of the world around us. And when we re-engage with the outside world, it's with the possibility of imagining the futures that we've been dreaming about.
Our best ideas don't come when we are full. They come when we're empty, when we're bored, when we're walking with nothing in our ears, when we are laying in bed without a screen, when we are waiting for something with nothing to do. That uncomfortable feeling that makes you reach for your phone, that's not boredom. That's creativity knocking. That's your brain saying, I'm ready. I'm ready to think. I'm ready to wonder. I'm ready to connect things I haven't connected before. But unfortunately, we never let it get there. We grab our phone before the thought has a chance to arrive. And the big excuse we always tell ourselves is that we're being productive by filling every moment, listening to an audiobook while we drive, watching a tutorial while we exercise, learning something while we clean. But are we really? When we multitask, we're not really doing two things. Well, we're doing two things halfway. We're listening to the podcast, but we're not actually absorbing it. We're doing the task, but we're not really present for it. And what's the rush? Why do we need to pack so much into every second? I think deep down we're afraid of being still, afraid of what we might feel if we stopped moving, afraid of what we might face if there was nothing to distract us. So we keep running, keep filling, and keep consuming. I started doing something that feels ridiculous to admit. I am trying to be bored. Just small things. I'll go somewhere without music, just the sound of the road. I'll sit on my couch for 5 minutes without turning on anything. I'll go for a walk without my phone. And it is so hard. My brain screams for stimulation. My hand reaches for my pocket. But I'm trying to sit with it, to let the silence in. And slowly I start noticing things I hadn't seen before. And I start having random thoughts. And I start feeling lighter. I'm not saying we should delete all our apps and live in a cabin because that's not realistic, but I'm just wondering, what if we gave ourselves permission to be sometimes unproductive, to just be, to let the silence in, to let ourselves get bored, to let our minds wander? Because in the stillness, something might arrive, an idea, a feeling, a part of ourselves we have been drowning out with noise. Maybe we don't need to fill every gap. Maybe the gaps are where the good stuff happens. If you want to keep up on watching, you can watch this video right here, where I talk all about how these tech companies hijack our brain and our attention. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and see you next time.